Howdy all, I'm Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and welcome to my review of Fantastic Four First Steps, the latest in the MCU cinematic saga. Phase 6, I think? Does anybody care anymore? Let's be honest, they don't. Before we go any forward, let me be very clear where I stand on the MCU and all things Fantastic Four. 1, I am no longer a fan of the MCU. I consider it complete and total dog shit at this point. It is no longer fun. More often than not, it is packed with agenda, and it is written for morons, drooling, window-licking morons. 2, I am not a fan of the Fantastic Four as a comic IP. I don't like Reed Richards. I think he's the go-to save everything lever whenever things go to hell in any overall overarching story in Marvel. I don't like him. Sue Storm, she doesn't rank high up on my Marvel hotties. I like the Thing, always like the Thing, and I'm pretty indifferent on Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. All that being said, this movie is mid. It is in fact the definition of mid. Mid and wasted potential. That's how we're going to tackle reviewing this movie. I'm going to let you know why I think it's mid and bad in some cases. There are a few bright spots here and there that go, oh, okay, but then they're quickly squashed by the little bit of agenda that is squished in there, and it's mainly coming through Sue Storm. Yes, Sue Storm. We'll get to that in a moment. Sue Storm and the Silver Surfer. Her. Other than that, as I said, I see a lot of wasted potential in this movie. It could have gone a very different way if it had a better cast, if it had a better overall story, and if they actually cared about telling a non-multiverse saga. That's a problem. Multiverse is still very prevalent in this. It's hinted early on in the movie, and we know that's where it's going, especially when they talk about Franklin Richards. Yes, Franklin Richards is in this. We all knew it at this point. Frankly, no pun intended there. Frankly, they lied to you in the trailers. If we go back and look at the early trailers, they hid the fact that Sue Storm was pregnant in those scenes. And in these scenes, she is pregnant. So they did a little lying in the trailers early on. And that's one of my biggest complaints, the fact that Franklin Richards is included at all, the fact that for the half of the movie, Sue is pregnant, but we'll get into that in a moment, because we're going to go through the movie itself. I'm going to tell you what happened. Spoilers are bound. And then I'm going to talk about things like the cast, how I feel they did, what the disservice I feel to the character is. And I remember, I am somebody who doesn't like the Fantastic Four. So if I feel like a disservice was done to these characters, it must really be bad, because I don't like these characters. I think they did dirty on all 4 of the members. I think they wasted Galactus. And going forward, we know they're going to screw around with all things MCU, Marvel, multiverse, blah, 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 blah. Here comes RD Doom. So we're going to get into all that. And then I'll tell you what, in the end, what I thought the wasted potential was. Because there was a really good idea in here somewhere that in the end collapsed under the weight of bad choices by both director, writer, and MCU in general. So let's get on with it. Fantastic Four baby steps, because the joke I've been making for months is actually kind of true. This isn't first steps, it is baby steps. Okay, the story of Baby Steps. I'm going to do my best to do a general broad strokes breakdown with spoilers of what happens in the movie. I'm going to leave fine details to future panel discussions on live streams. So we're going to get through this as hopefully quickly and painlessly as possible. Baby Steps takes place on Earth 868, where the Fantastic Four literally run the world. I'm not kidding. They run the world. We get a brief story of their origin, nicely woven in to the movie. I'll give them that. It's nicely woven in, where we see how they got their powers as essentially a talk show host is giving us a history lesson, as he is very excited to announce to the world that Reed and Sue are expecting their first child. Now, they are married, but she still calls herself Sue Storm. That is right. Modernity pokes its head in right away. She didn't take his last name. In the comics, in the actual lore, when they're married, she does call herself Sue Richards. She's Sue Richards eventually. But nope, she is Sue Storm. They're married. It's just, I don't like that. Plain and simple, I do not like that. It's another shot at traditionalism. And, well, that's what the MCU is good at. Shooting at traditionalism. And we'll get into that very soon some more. All right, so after we get a montage of what everybody's doing, we learn that Sue has founded the Future Foundation, which essentially runs the world and gave us world peace. And everybody goes to her for problems, except the delegation of Latveria, which is noticeably missing. We get to see that Reed still does a television show where kids are bored of him talking about multiversal theory. Instead, they want to watch Engines and Explosions. We learn that Johnny... Well, we don't really know much about Johnny. He's just the Human Torch who flies around and does stuff. They say he's into girls, but you only see it in one instance in the movie. And again, we'll get to that in a bit. And then you got Ben Grimm, the Thing. They don't call him the Thing once. And he doesn't have the Ben Grimm personality you might be used to. This guy's very soft-spoken. He doesn't use the catchphrase clobbering time because he hates it. He says it only exists in the cartoon that was created in that universe. And but he's a nice guy, sweet guy. He's not, hey, Stretch, what you doing? That kind of guy. He's, hey, everybody, how's it going here? I'm making dinner with garlic, having a taste. Hey, girls and kids on the street, I'm going to play with you by picking up a car. How we all doing? There's no personality. He's just this soft-spoken, bland dude when Ben Grimm is supposed to be the big, boisterous thing. And he's not. Anyway, so they do a whole bunch of montage of stuff showing the origin of that as the months are going by, as the world is celebrating the pregnancy of Sue Storm. Anyway, about 8 months go by, and everybody's happy, this and that. After Reed is basically showing them that, hey, guess what? I just stopped a whole bunch of crime here and there because now I'm crime-proofing the world for the baby because they're afraid of the baby. They're afraid what the baby's going to be because he's all afraid it's going to have mutated DNA from the cosmic radiation that they all got exposed to, all stuff like that. And he does all these tests, and Sue's like, oh, don't worry, we're going to be great parents. Look, I'm going to make my stomach invisible so you can see the baby in my belly. A little disturbing, if you ask me. That was a little disturbing. And then it's like, okay, fine, we're going to move along. You're going to be a great dad, blah, blah, blah. And during all that, we're hearing these records that he's recording. That there are some inconsistencies in this story that I'm going to point out now. They haven't been to space since the accident that gave them their powers. They have stayed on Earth. And Reed keeps recording messages coming in from space. And Johnny keeps collecting them on the records that he does it on. And one of the things is Johnny has a collection of messages he's been hearing, and it's another alien language, so he can't translate it until the events that transpire now. So what happens is they're all celebrating on the balcony. The baby's almost here. We're locking down crime. But then the night sky lights up with fireballs, and they all quickly rush to go meet the Silver Surf her as she arrives. Shalabal is going to arrive with her bad CGI. I'm going to say right now, the CGI in this movie is atrocious. It is bad. It's awkward. The uncanny valley is as big as the Earth that Galactus wants to swallow. It's terrible. And the Silver Surf her is not good. But we'll get into that as we get into that movie, and then when I talk about the characters. So, they confront her, and in the trailer, it was true. When they ask, are you the ones who protect this planet? Sue answers, although in the trailers, she wasn't pregnant, but now in the movie, she is pregnant. And so I present this to you now for the entire second act of the movie. Well, end of first act into second act. Everything they're about to do involves pregnant Sue Storm. She's going to be running around pregnant, doing shit. Now, mind you, up until this point, we haven't seen them actually fight any crime. We've had quick snapshots of them saying they defeated this villain, defeated that villain, and made friends with this villain here. And it's we've had no superheroing so far in our superhero movies. So finally, we think, okay, we're gonna get some superhero stuff. Well, what happens is Silver Surf her announces Galactus is coming. You all get to now relish your time you have left. Bye. And she leaves, and Johnny's going to chase after her. And he's going to chase her up into the off the planet. They're in space where he runs out of oxygen, and then she kicks him back down to Earth, but she says something to him in her language, and he recognizes it because it's on the records that Reed has been recording from outer space messages. Okay? All right, so there it is. So they all come together. They decide that they can track where she's been, and for a group that hasn't been to space in 4 years, they seem very knowledgeable of what's going on in space. They can track everything from millions and millions light years away. They can track that planets that the Silver Surfer's radiation has been to have disappeared. So now they're gonna go to space, and they seem to be ready to go to space. Suddenly they have a rocket ship that's ready to go. Even though they haven't been there, Reed has made Johnny happy by finishing their new spacesuits, one being pregnant sized for Sue. And everybody's cheering. They're going to go to space and negotiate with Galactus. Now, here's, as I said, an inconsistency. They're going to go to space. Okay, fine. I can buy that they probably had the spaceship rebuilt. They call it the Excelsior. R.I.P. Stanley. And they're going to... I can buy they have a ship, because these Fantastic Four are supposed to be part of Marvel's cosmic stories. You know, they go out there, they travel the stars, they get involved in shit. But they literally said they haven't been to space in 4 years. But I can accept they have a spaceship ready. So they launch, and they get into orbit, and they have a faster-than-light engine ready to go, as though they've been traveling around. I feel like that's an inconsistency. But if you haven't been doing any traveling, how do you know your faster-than-light engine's going to work? Well, I'm Reed Richards. No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't. Anyway, so they're going to get in the faster-than-light engine. They're going to rock it out there, and then they're going to be talking plans and this and that as they head out there. And there's a whole bunch of storyline about how Reed, and this is a one good Reed Richard thing, like the 1.5 good things they do with Reed Richard in this. He is guilty over what he caused with everybody by making the mistake of the cosmic radiation storm. He's guilty over that. That is a true thing. But it's done so poorly through Pedro that it doesn't really hit home at all. They eventually track Silver Surfer to Galactus' current location, traveling through faster-than-light wormhole technology, which, again, I'm not going to spend time on that. It's junk science. And during the time, there's a lot of character conversations going on. I'll get more into that during the character section. But they arrive, and they watch a planet get devoured by Galactus' ship. It's a giant planet-eating ship, a planet that Reed notes is 13% larger than Earth. And then, this is something that also is kind of stupid. The planet gets destroyed, and there is debris flying everywhere, but they abandon the faster-than-light attachment and just leave it floating there, and it doesn't get smashed. But they have to dodge around all kinds of asteroids. That's just bad writing to me. They didn't even think to try and protect the faster-than-light engine, which should have been smashed by the planetary debris left behind. After a little maneuvering, this and that, they run into the Silver Surfer, says Galactus will meet with you. You should not have come. They go inside, and here's where things again start to fall apart. They go inside. There's this whole thing about Johnny's spacesuit not being able to function for too long when he flames on. And while they're walking, he tries to hit on Silver Surfer because he's into her. And she says some things to him, and he talks about the language that she used, and he says, what does it mean? It means cherish your time or some shit like that. But he's hitting her, and he says, she's kind, she's soft, there's something deep inside that she's holding on to, blah, blah, blah. And he goes back, and then, of course, they're going to go meet Galactus. Now, I will say this, at least Galactus looks like Galactus, and he's not a giant cloud, all right? And the problem, though, is that, I'll say it now, and I'll go into it more in the next segment, Galactus is very shallow here. He just eats worlds that the Silver Surfer chooses for his endless hunger. And once he scans them, he gives a little speech about how he was once like them before this universe existed, but now he has an endless hunger, blah, blah, blah. But he immediately notices that Sue is pregnant and says, your child has the power cosmic. It must take my throne and end my hunger. I pull up short right here because as powerful as Franklin Richards is, while he has cosmically powerful abilities, he doesn't have the power cosmic. That's two totally different things. So they've altered Franklin Richards already so that he fits into this bullshit. And here's part of the problem of the movie. Franklin Richards is a plot device. And it's a plot device that rolls into stupidity done by Sue Storm now and going forward. Of course, the team's going to reject it. They want to leave. They attack Galactus. They run. It's a big running thing. And the Silver Surfer wipes the floor with all of them until at one point, pregnant Sue, who goes into labor during all of this, she goes into labor still with her overpoweredness, because Sue Storm is massively overpowered in this movie by comparison to anything else. She uses her force fields to literally slam the Silver Surfer around while Ben and Johnny and Reed couldn't do shit to her. So that gives them the window they need. So remind you now, pregnant Sue Storm kicked Silver Surfer's ass, and nobody else could. All right. So they're going to get back on the ship. Oh, I forgot Herbie the robot. I'm not going to complain about Herbie the robot. It's just there to do shit. He pre-preps the ship to launch, and they just want to get out of there, and they barely get out. They barely make it to the still intact faster-than-light drive. They make a wormhole. Problem is, they go to wormhole with no real destination in mind. They do it on the fly. Silver Surfer is chasing them. There's this whole thing about how Johnny doesn't want to shoot her down because he loves her already, and they give him shit over that, and they keep flying. Eventually, they set coordinates to a neutron star, which is almost a black hole, and this is a good, intelligent Reed Richards move. This is one of those, that extra half a point I'm going to give it to good Reed Richards. This is something Reed would do. He'd use his brain to beat somebody clearly more powerful than him. They managed to slingshot her into the, I guess, edge of the neutron star's gravity well, and she gets caught in the event horizon and the time dilation effect, which is true, that would happen. She gets caught, and she'll be trapped there for a month while they now escape back home, because apparently Galactus' ship just sluggishly moves through space. It doesn't have a jump drive, just moves through space. So everybody gets home, and right away, we've seen this clip. They ask him, so did you stop Galactus? No, we didn't. He wanted our baby, and we didn't want to give it to him. And like, wait a minute, you would have saved the whole Earth, you just gave him the son? Your son? Yeah, we could have, but we didn't. Which, of course, listen, no one's going to give up their child in a situation like that. That is a good story point. The problem is the movie handles it awkwardly. That's my problem with this whole they don't give up Franklin Richards thing. It's just handled awkwardly, where the world is now going to turn on them for a little while until eventually Sue's going to go out and give a big speech that Reed Richards should have honestly given about how we were not going to give up our son, and this is Franklin. Don't you all love him? And we're not just a family ourselves. The whole world is our family. We're all commie socialists in this together. So now you're going to do what we say to protect our son, so we protect all your sons and daughters. That's what I said. It's the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many, as long as you do what we say. It's just handled awkwardly, if you ask me. And it's Sue Storm telling the world what to do through emotional manipulation. I don't like it. If you like it, fine. I don't. I find it bad. It's not what heroes do. Now, of course, they do the heroic thing. We're going to save the whole Earth, because their whole plan now is using something that was shown early in the movie. Reed has mastered teleportation, but not only on a small scale. So now the whole plan is to, per the line, I'm Archimedes. Give me a lever and I'll move the Earth. And he says, well, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move the Earth. Now you've given me the ability to solve the problem. You see, Reed can't do anything himself. Somebody else has to hand it to him. Well, they decide to build teleportation engines over the entire planet to move it to a similar solar system. Mind you, they were only going to move the Earth and not the moon. The moon was going to be left behind, which would have caused massive problems. But they didn't think that far. So they're going to do it. It looks like it's going to work. The whole world does what Sue tells them to do. The whole world does it. And now we're getting to that point they're going to do it. But oh no, at the last second, is they're going to teleport away. It's working. It's working. No, Silver Surfer shows up, destroys every single teleportation engine except the one in the middle of Times Square in New York. And now what do? Well, now the plan is to lure Galactus out of his ship and trap him in the teleportation thing and teleport him instead of that. Well, what's going to happen? It's all right. Well, all right. Hang on. I left part out. Sorry. During the whole construction thing, Johnny gets his smart moment by translating the language that he knows Shalabal speaks. It's all the message they've been sending. So he's translated it enough to speak in the language, where after the Silver Surfer has destroyed all the engines, he goes to see her and he triggers it to play and he translated it and he says, what a coincidence that it's your language that has been projected in our direction. It's your homeworld. It's your homeworld telling you how much they miss her. And then she tells him her history about how she sacrificed herself instead of Norrin Radd, who Norrin Radd's never mentioned. She sacrificed herself to protect her planet, the only planet Galactus never ate. And now Johnny says, I'm trying to protect my planet. And he plays all the messages, and she says it's not going to be enough, and he keeps playing them, and they keep translating, and she freaks out and flies away. And we don't see her until the end of the movie now. So right at this point, we've had next to no Silver Surfer story, except that she's very sad that she has to sacrifice the planet, and now maybe she feels guilty without any other conversations or interactions to show us. Now, Adam, that's show don't tell. Not in the good way, how it's going to happen at the end there. And Johnny his whole story has been, I just want to be useful. I want to protect my family. I want to protect my planet. It's a whole setup, which if they had balls to actually complete would have been cool, but they're not going to. Just wait. Right, so they are going to come to the conclusion they have to use Baby Franklin as bait. And, well, of course, nobody wants to do it, or the whole, one of the through lines of the movie is that Reed always thinks of every bad situation, and Sue hates it that he does that, and he tries to explain, of course I have to think of every bad situation. How do I fight evil if I don't think like evil? She says, well, that's what makes it difficult to be around you sometimes, blah-de-blah. More shallow stuff, relationship shit. And it's his plan, and she figures it out, and eventually she says, oh, she doesn't want to do it, but she will. Problem is, all the delivery's all wrong. Delivery's just gonna be all wrong. She's like, no! I mean, Vanessa Kirby's performance, as I'll talk about, is as bad as everybody else's, and it's off-putting. Her behavior, her stances, her delivery is all off-putting, as off-putting as everybody else's is. Anyway, they're gonna do it. They set up this whole thing where they're gonna bring him in there. They put Baby Franklin down. It's in a special cradle that's going to be swapped out. Galactus lands, and he just marches through the city, crashing shit. Everybody's been... there's nobody in the city. Everybody in Manhattan has been... and the boroughs have been sheltered in Subterranea with Mole Man, who only likes Sue. And then there's this very poor battle against Galactus. You have everybody trying... the men do very little damage to him, and he shrugs all of them off. And at some point during it, Sue had crashed her car that she was driving, wakes up when Galactus has figured out that they swapped the baby out and put it back in the Baxter building, is going for the baby, actually gets the baby, and as he's marching away, when the men have all been beaten, Sting has been tossed aside, he got thrown into space, Johnny saved him, convinced him to say clobber in time, and they got tossed aside. Reed tried to climb up the Galactus and open up his valve, something like that, but then Galactus is literally stretching him to death in a very pathetic display. And then it all stops when Sue gets angry and basically beats the shit out of Galactus with her force fields. So once again, the men are made to look pathetic while Sue Storm literally kicks Galactus's ass just enough so that Reed could pluck Baby Franklin out of the palm of his hand, and she pushes him into the generator sphere. They turn it on. They have 37 seconds, and they're not going to get it done because Galactus gets sucked in, but he's fucking Galactus, so he pulls himself back out, and then Sue is collapsed dead. She's dead. She's overexerted herself to save everybody. Good job, Mama Bear. And then Johnny's going to do the sacrifice play. He's going to charge full speed into Galactus and push him into the portal that'll send him millions of light years in another direction without his ship and be stranded. But no, Silver Surfer is going to Rose Tico his ass. Literally, that's what I'm like, oh shit. She just Rose Tico'd his ass. She knocks him out of the way and will plow into Galactus and knock him through the portal without a word. And here's why this isn't a sacrifice play. One, Silver Surfer can survive in space. She's fine. She'll be fine. You just took away a hero moment from Johnny Storm. And it would have been fine because it's multiverse. Just introduce another fucking Johnny Storm. We know they're going to reset everything after Secret Wars anyway. Just put in another one. But no. You took his agency away. It's been building up the whole movie that Johnny wants to do a sacrifice play to make it show that he's worth something. And she takes it away, which is meaningless because she can survive in space. And then that's it. Oh, no, wait, it isn't. Sue's dead. And Reed going, come on, baby, in very, very awkward way because Pedro cannot pull that off. He's trying to do CPR. It's not working. It's not being sold at all until baby Franklin is crying so much. And it's a digital baby. It's a fucking digital baby. It's a CGI baby. And baby Franklin, they put him on her chest, and he, of course, does Franklin Richards rule-breaking powers, because that's what Franklin Richards is. He's a fucking rule-breaking. He's the most OP character in Marvel. And he resuscitates her, brings her back to life, and everything's happy ending, and then the world is saved, and everybody's fine. Everybody's celebrating them. Yay, the Fantastic Four did it. Let's have another TV program, and let's have the lame jokes fights. Not MCU humor, but it's lame jokes. And then, of course, they're going to go on TV, but then they get an alert, and they're running out. Everybody's cheering them, and they have one last gag at the end, which is the closest to MCU humor you're going to get. Because I'll say that there is no real MCU humor in this. That's one of the pluses of the movie. It's not really MCU humor, but it's kind of boring humor is what it is. Not really laugh out loud, no chuckles or nothing. As all the men are struggling to get the baby seat into the Fantastic Four car, while Sue just stands there holding the baby going, oh, you men. And then they get it in there, and they fly off to save the day from whatever. Post-credits scene is really quick, simple. 4 years later, Sue's playing with young Franklin. She goes get a toy, comes back, and she finds Dr. Doom with his face mask off, reaching for Franklin, and then over. That's it. So I don't even know if that's RDJ right there. We don't know. We might assume it is, since we know they shot that scene on the set of Doomsday. But either way, that's it. There's a lot more details about this and that. We'll go into a few of them now in the next section with the characters, but that's essentially it. Very mid, mostly boring. I'll get into more of that in the following segments.
Oh, to find love like Reed and Sue's.
Now listen, these are gorgeous. I think that's my favorite image so far.
Just our hands.
Yeah. As long
That
as
was
you
our
don't have
very
to
first
see-
day
As long
as
as
well.
you don't have to see my face.
Okay, let's talk about the cast and the portrayals of their characters. Pedro Pascal is terrible. He's terrible as Reed Richards. There is no masculinity in him at all. Reed Richards is, I'm Reed Richards, I'm socially awkward, I know I'm not good at this stuff, okay everybody, but I'm really smart, and I can solve problems, and I can do this. His delivery the whole movie is essentially this tone the whole entire time. I'm Reed Richards, I'm just gonna talk like this the whole whole movie. Except when Sue is dying, come on baby, there's a disconnect between Pedro Pascal and what Reed Richards should be. So anybody saying that he does it perfectly, there's no ego. There's ego, but it's wrapped up in his beta-isms. There's no narcissism. There's no charisma. There's no I'm the smartest man in the world. They talk about him being the smartest man in the world, but you don't believe it. He just goes on the chalkboard all the time and says a couple of scientific-y things, but he doesn't sell it. That's the problem. Pedro Pascal doesn't sell it. And like I said, there are a couple times where he does it, when he figures out how to trap Silver Surfer in the neutron star. That's some good sciencey stuff. In his moment when he's gonna fight Galactus for a second, it's an intelligent fight moment where he's using Galactus's gear against him by opening a valve, releasing this and that. But then it's ruined in 2 seconds, and Galactus grabs him and plays Stretch Armstrong with him. So, and then, as I said, the whole movie, he doesn't take the initiative in anything. It's always Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm who takes the initiative. She is the voice of the world. And as I said, Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm, there's something disconcerting about it. Her delivery is always, I'm like this. Oh no! She goes from either to when her child is in danger. And I don't want to hear mama bear bullshit. All I know is that there is something off about it. It's not a good performance. It's very underwhelming. And her whole girl poweredness of this. We're gonna go to space while I'm pregnant. I'm gonna fight while I'm in labor. I'm stronger than everybody. I can do all this. And there's a whole scene where they're being chased by Silver Surfer Her, where she's moaning and groaning and she has to wait. But it's like and Reed goes, between contractions, can you just make the whole ship invisible? And she's like, okay. There's something wrong about the whole thing. At the same time, at the end, when after everybody else has had their ass kicked by Galactus, she is the one that is strong enough to push him back into the portal. I don't like it. That's the extent of the agendaism you get in this movie, but it's there. And it's all about women are great, men are pathetic compared to them. It just is. Not to mention, as I said, there's some low-key soft socialism going on in this movie where the Future Foundation essentially runs everything in the world. And she runs it. And everybody praises dear leader for it. And there is, like I said, at 1.2, when they're turning against Fantastic Four, rightfully so. Why won't you give up your child to save our entire planet? And she basically comes out and says, the needs of my child and my family are greater than all of yours. But we consider all of you our family, so our problems are your problems. It's a cop-out. It's a weak way to deal with an interesting story plot that should have been handled with more delicacy. Not just, we're going to force all of you to do this by emotionally blackmailing you. Crap. Joseph Quinn's Human Torch, Johnny Storm. It's not good. It's not good at all. There's no sizzle. There's no Riz. He's got no Riz. He's Mr. Goofy. I'm your goofy little brother. I'm smart. I want to be seen as smart. I'm going to do the smart thing by translating the whole language part and convincing Silver Surfer Her to not be on Galactus' side, but it's delivered with no passion. That's one thing I'd say about this entire cast. There's no passion in any of their performances. It's all very subdued. It's not emotional, except when Sue Storm has "get away from my baby" moments, which, again, understandable, but poorly delivered. So Joseph Quinn, he's not Johnny Storm. He's not Johnny Storm. There's nothing lovable about him. He's just a little goofy and a little silly. Now, I will say that the back and forth between Johnny and Ben, that is one of the good things in the movie. Their back and forths are entertaining and amusing because that's how Johnny and Ben are. That's how they behave with each other. But it falls apart because neither of them are portrayed well. We now get to Ebon Moss-Bachrach's Ben Grimm, the Thing. Ben Grimm, historically, is a rough and tumble guy. That's who he is. Grew up on the streets, best friends with Reed Richards since childhood. He's street smart. He's not educated. This Ben Grimm is soft-spoken. I'm talking like this the whole movie with perfect English. I call Reed Stretch once. I call Sue Storm Suze once. And I won't say clobbering time because it only happened in the cartoon. Hey everybody, hey, I'm gonna go make friends with Natasha Lyonne's made-up character who's a female rabbi at a synagogue. Notice and I'm saying this, they don't openly note that Ben Grimm is Jewish. They kind of gloss over it. They visually show you that he lived in that area and that kind of stuff, but they don't come out right out and say it, will they? Won't do it. Instead of his traditional girlfriend who is blind and accepts him for his soul and not how he looks. But different conversation. Save that one. But I'm so soft-spoken. Isn't that, oh, I'm Mr. Jokey. Ha ha ha, kids. I'll pick up the car and I'll twist it around on my finger. Yay. He's not Ben Grimm. It doesn't have the charisma of The Thing, Ben Grimm. It's just wrong. So it sets an improper tone. Julie Garner's Shala Ball, Silver Surf her. There's nothing to her. We get a quick flash of her backstory. She's very cold. We're told that she's got a warmth in her by Johnny, but it's never really shown, except for one scene where she says, "Can't we spare the planet?" And Galactus is like, "No." And then she shows up the last second, as I said, to roast Tico, Johnny, and take all the glory. So she's nothing. She's nothing except bad CGI. Her lines are delivered well, but that's about all I can say. There's nothing to her. Ralph Ineson as the voice of Galactus. He has like 7 to 10 lines in the movie. That's it. You get a measly bullshit fight at the end, marching through New York, which is accurate. Galactus is shrugging off everything they do because he's freaking Galactus. But Sue Storm kicks his ass. So Galactus is wasted. This is where we get to the wasted potential part of this, all right? I'll get into that right now. The wasted potential of this movie is the fact that you have Galactus and you barely use him. He's just a plot device to push the agenda of the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many, and that Franklin Richards is all-powerful and will play a role going forward in the MCU as a desired entity by the villains, because we see at the end with Doom showing up to take him. That's all Galactus serves at. We get his hunger. We know he's existed, but that's it. There's nothing to it. It's shallow. There should be more. This is freaking Galactus, one of the biggest threats in the entire Marvel universe, and you just treat him like a throwaway villain, essentially. It's boring. It's wrong. And not to mention, when I say wasted potential, there could have been a whole sequence of Reed Richards doing the thing that I hate the most, being the ultimate lever to pull to solve a problem, doing this out of your mind, crazy scientific plan trick, but he does nothing. Reed Richards comes up with ideas, but it's Sue Storm who executes all the ideas. It's Johnny Storm who tries to execute the idea. It's the Silver Surf her who finishes the job. Reed Richards is essentially there to have an idea but not actually do anything. Whereas if it was really done well, if Pedro had enough charisma and gravitas to be a Reed Richards is the smartest man in the world. Smarter than Tony Stark. Does nothing. They could have had him do some incredible shit. They could have had him do some incredible stretchy shit, but they don't. It's wasted. It's boring. The Thing could have had an ultimate fight here and there with Galactus, done something really cool, but the Thing does nothing. He's used as a projectile by Johnny when he convinces him to say it's clobbering time, which immediately ends when Galactus goes, ugh. Wasted potential. That's what this movie is. But it is just mid in the end. These characters are poorly represented, but they're not obnoxious. I mean, Sue Storm gets a little obnoxious, but they're not. They're just, in the end, boring, uneventful, nothing exciting. The music is okay. I can say that. The music works here and there. It's not terrible. As I said, the story itself, it just goes forward. Doesn't deviate, which is nice. It's unlike a certain other movie out right now. The narrative is right on cue. It stays on track, doesn't derail. We gotta save the world from Galactus while protecting Franklin Richards and the whole world at the same time. It stays there while working with our little family issues along the way. Now, all that's executed poorly. Their little relationships are like this thin with a few conversations here and there. It's not flushed out. It's as though by starting in the middle, in medias res of their adventures, we don't feel anything for their relationships or these characters. They're just there, talking and behaving sort of like we expect them to, but not really. Bottom line, this movie, for 2/3 of it, because like I said, they have, with the exception of a couple action sequences in the middle and at the end, it's mostly walking and talking from room to room, complaining about things and wishing this and wishing that. Won't you listen to me? Why don't you listen to me? Oh, I'm trying to do this, trying to do that. That's all it is. It's slice of life is what it is. It's slice of life. And it's frankly boring in a superhero movie. It's at least to the extent that they did it. You could have had moments like this, but there's nothing moving the movie except we're waiting to get to Galactus for him to arrive. And we're doing all these things in between. I think this movie is, as I said, it's the definition of mid, full of wasted potential. Not the worst thing in the world. It's probably going to do well. I give it in the end probably a 5. It really is a 5, definition of mid, right in the middle. People claiming it's a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, don't believe a word they say. They're shills. They lick windows and drool. But going forward now, we're coming up on Doomsday. Doomsday. That's a whole nother bag of rotten jelly beans we'll get into later on next year. Maybe. Either way, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video and stream. Until then, take it easy. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.